What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Talon and I make new videos every single week, so consider clicking subscribe if you like what you see here throughout this video. It's going to be a little loud this video. I'm currently at True Automotive in Denver, Colorado, and we are of course working on the Tundra today. So this is for all of you 3rd gen Tundra owners, or if you're a prospective buyer, this is going to be a modification that you might want to be looking into. I got hit up by a company out of Pennsylvania, which is where I grew up, AWE Tuning, and they've been making exhaust for over 30 years, and this is going to be my first experience with one of their systems, but I'm pretty stoked on it. This is going to be a Catback exhaust installation on the 3rd gen Tundra, and there's a lot of cool stuff kind of baked into this entire system, which we will show you guys once we get everything buttoned up on here. I already filmed a little bit of a stock sound, which honestly doesn't really sound like much. You can't hear any exhaust noise from inside the cab of this truck, but I think this whole system will spruce things up a little bit, so let's get into it. All right, helping with the install, Austin. What up, dude?
What's up, man?
I forewarned you and I apologized in advance, but this truck is still so filthy from the last trip. I know you got a nice new shirt on and everything.
You know, not only is it super large, and we can only go up just, you know, I don't even know, a couple feet, but, you know, you're getting just pummeled with dirt. The exterior is really clean. I will give you that.
I tried, dude. I've been spraying my bumpers time and time again, and it just keeps pouring out of there.
Hey, I mean, I guess it means you use it, which a lot of guys don't, so.
I used it.
I love it, man. Well, we're really excited to be installing this AWE suspension on here, or I'm sorry, exhaust. And really looking forward to kind of hearing the difference in tones. AWE does a great job on all the kits we've installed in the past. So stay tuned for some clips.
Yeah. Let's take a little peek under here. So it doesn't look too terrible right here. Once we get into the nooks and crannies of like the suspension, there's a lot of buildup there on the spindle. How's the exhaust look? Is that muddy?
I mean, I would say it's a little more like everywhere.
Ah! Oh, don't do that. The back is definitely the worst.
She's packed.
Oh my gosh, it is completely packed in back here. I need to just go under here with a skateboard or a creeper. Look at the rear axle and the brakes. Let's just try to keep as much mud on the truck as possible so we don't destroy your floors. So these guys are currently pulling off the stock exhaust, which is this massive piece right here. So we're going to be saving a lot of weight, which is definitely a plus of running an aftermarket exhaust.
Ah! So basically I have the front rubber mounts right here. They need to come off. Yep, that's it. So we have to go towards you and then down. Okay, that's a big muffler.
That is a huge muffler.
Yeah, look at all the room for activities down here. So do not start your car up with no exhaust on there. That's a good way to burn your carpet and damage things further, even though it might sound cool.
So now we're removing some of the final pieces. This is going to be a Catback exhaust, so coming out of each side and then coupling back up to go through the rest of the truck. You're going to reuse the factory hardware on this too. They do provide some clamps, but these spring bolts here, you're going to reuse those direct from Toyota.
Spring bolts are actually a really cool design from a manufacturer. So if you look at it, so exhaust expands and contracts.
Oh, is that why they do that? I did not know that.
And so they do that, but then they also give you a stop here, right? So you tighten this all the way, and then this just creates constant tension on the flange. It's a really smart design, and then being like versus like a flat style where you know you just have a gasket like this.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a spring like that with like a donut style.
Yeah.
It's reusable and very reliable.
Smart. Learn something new.
It's like kind of like doing it in your, you know, your driveway or your garage.
Yeah, sorry I have the camper on and we can't lift the truck any higher.
I mean, you know, it just makes it more real life, you know?
Yeah, just having a super muddy truck that you can't lift off the ground very far.
It really brings me back.
Now we're getting close. After the twin resonators, we're going up over the axle using the factory hangers and bushings and everything. And then after this last bend, this is where some things will differ a little bit from truck to truck. Since this happens to be double cab with a long wheelbase, there's actually a little adapter pipe that needs to go in place. The way everything is positioned properly.
You can really tell like when a company has something really well designed, like that all your mounts will be like centered in the bushing and not like a concern down the road. I've seen some exhausts shoot straight at the axle and kind of over time cook ABS sensors, things like that.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Good design here. All right, I stand corrected on what I said last. We actually don't need the extension piece. So this is the version of the end of the exhaust that I'm going with here. So this is the high clearance option. They actually have a BashGuard kind of welded around the end there. This thing is so high that I'll never hit that anyway, but it's a nice touch. Goes off what you said, being well engineered.
Yeah, I like the little tip too, like instead of it just be kind of like a raw cut, they just put this nice little flange on here. Just gives it a nice clean look.
And if I do bash it on a rock, that's going to be way more reinforced than not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've seen plenty of people pancake their exhaust, which always makes for a good weekend. Corey, we'll torque those to 65. It says a minimum of a 60, so I think 65 is a good strong number for us. I always like to do like a shake test just to make sure he's not like hitting something because exhaust moves quite a bit.
Yeah, looks like it dumps in a good spot. It's not going to get like wrapped up in the bumper or anything.
Yeah, far enough away from all your wiring and sensors and things like that. And this works really well with aftermarket bumpers. On my exhaust that I put on my Tundra, I actually had to cut the exhaust and do just this when I put my C4 bumper on. So that's super nice that they offer this.
Yeah. So here's a completed look at the install coming off of the cats on each side back into single pipe here. This is all stainless, by the way. Coming back through both of the resonators, up over the axle, and then back to that high clearance tip option there. Now it's time to go for a drive and see how this thing sounds. All right, guys, it is time for some sound tests of this new AWE exhaust, and I have a little bit of a story time before this. I have been living with this exhaust on the Tundra for, I think, like 3 weeks now, because a lot of stuff has happened. As you can tell, there's a lot of snow out here around me. We got about 19 inches of snow in the Denver area in November. It was like a historic snowfall, so the roads were pretty bad and I couldn't get out here and film it. But also, someone decided to break into this truck. They smashed out my rear window back here and stole something. It's whatever, but I had a busted out window in the truck. Had to go through insurance and get that fixed. So it's been a wild 3 weeks, but it's finally time for this exhaust sound, so let's get right into it. I'm going to preface this by saying camera audio never does justice. I'm going to try to make it sound as natural to the ear as it does in a video, but just keep in mind that it's not going to sound exact. I will say, after living with this exhaust for a little while, I'm a really big fan of it. I think it sounds great. It's not too overbearing. With all the technology packed in here, it sounds really good, doesn't drone on the highway. And I don't even have any stock Tundra sound clips if you're curious about what it sounds like. It doesn't sound like anything. You get an occasional turbo noise when you get on the throttle pretty heavily, but the stock exhaust, as you guys saw, was massive, and this made a huge improvement to that. So let's first jump into what this thing sounds like as a cold start, maybe do some flybys and stuff like that. And this is the full exhaust with the BashGuard tip on the end. Now, I'm really not sure what it's going to sound like in here on video for you guys, but This is what it sounds like starting it up. The engine is warm already. Honestly, not super noticeable. The cab of the 3rd Gen Tundra is already really quiet, and I can almost feel like the deeper rumble back there. It's definitely louder than stock, but it's not obnoxious. I think it fits the purpose of a Tundra really well. So I'm gonna go for a little drive here. I should also mention that I'm still hauling around my Kimbo camper, so shift points are a little elongated, but it is what it is. I'm gonna be driving around in sport mode. So this is about 25. I'm actually driving on a dirt road right now too. Let's get on it a little bit. That sounds pretty good to me. Sam's here with me. What do you think?
I think it sounds pretty good.
And it doesn't drone. I'm doing 40 right now.
Can't even hear it.
That 180 technology that they pack into this thing does a really good job of kind of keeping the truck from being annoying when you're driving at like normal speeds on the road. It almost makes me wish the truck was manual so I could like hold on to the gear a little longer, downshift, like And at the end of the day, I'm not looking for a super loud exhaust setup for this truck. It just allows the truck to breathe a little bit better. It does sound really good. And then when you're crawling around going slow off-road, I'm sure it's going to sound pretty cool on camera too. It's a really deep rumble. The secondary resonator there really gets rid of a lot of the raspiness that you may find with a V6 like this. And then another important thing to note is that the equal length tubes coming off of the Cat, if those were not designed and engineered the way that they were, that is how you would run into a lot of like weird resonance issues. It would kind of drone. It would be a different tone from each pipe, and that is where you would run into issues with an exhaust that is not properly engineered. So having it equal length on each side, that is a big plus in my book. I am keeping the BashGuard tip on the end of this truck because of course I take this truck off-road and it does sound really good. However, if you head over to AWE's Instagram, you can actually hear what this truck sounds like with the optional tips on the end. So the tube is a little bit longer, it puts it out kind of in the stock position, and it might even sound a little bit louder and a little bit deeper too because it's not tucked in behind your bumper. But I'm going for functionality with this, so that's why I'm sticking with the BashGuard. So that was the first time that I've heard the truck from the outside, just listening back to that audio, and it sounds pretty insane. I don't know exactly, I mean, you were outside. It's gotta be loud.
No, it's very loud.
It's loud, but like a good loud. It's definitely not loud in here. I mean, we can have a full-blown conversation. Hopefully you guys can hear me just fine. Again, still on a dirt road, so the Tundra cab, again, is really quiet, but the truck sounds honestly pretty insane from the outside.
Yeah, it's very quiet until you get on it. Once you put your foot to the floor, it definitely comes a little bit more alive.
Definitely comes alive. So I guess that is what you guys get for now. I'm going to post some more sound clips probably in the future, especially when I get this thing off-road. I'll post that stuff over on my Instagram, so follow me over there. If you want some more like in-depth technical talk about this, I will also leave a link to AWE's video. I'll leave that in the description down below, and you can follow them on Instagram too if you want to check out some more sound bites of exhaust that they make, because they make a ton of different exhausts. I think the next one on the dock is probably the Tacoma. I'm really curious about that one, being 4-cylinder turbo hybrid. I think that truck already sounds pretty good,
Yeah.
which is surprising, but I'm curious how much better AWE can make that thing sound. So that's all I got for this video. Big thanks to AWE for letting me test this thing out. And if you guys have any questions on it, let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to answer anything as best as possible. If you're new here, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week. As always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.